Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Thank you very much, Anu. Live chanting is always special. And good morning and good evening, everybody. Welcome back. We had to take a week break due to unavoidable circumstances. Sorry about that. And we will continue our discussion on chapter 4. We had a wonderful yoga retreat over the weekend. Some of you participated. It was a great experience. Being together with like-minded and right-minded people is always fun. And we had a chance to at least talk in person, conduct one in-person lectures and yoga meditation classes. So it was a great experience. We will continue to do that next year. With that, we can get started. We will continue our study of chapter 4. This chapter is again a different chapter, a unique chapter. We covered up to verse 6. We will pick up the thread from the verse 6 and move on from there because we could not complete the whole thought. Sorry. Okay. So the verses 1 to 3, what we have seen is a topic called Vamsha Kathanam, or the teaching lineage. Krishna was making it clear that this is not my original teaching. This is a teaching I created or I developed, but this is the original Vedic teaching. I'm just doing an intelligent reinterpretation. So naturally, Arjuna had a question. How can you teach this at the beginning of the universal manifestation? Because you seems to be very young, but the universe seems to be very old. So to address that question, Krishna said that who he is. So far, he didn't reveal his identity to Arjuna. So in these verses, Krishna talks about who really he is. What is the difference between him and the other people? And he introduces an idea called Avatara. This is pretty much part of our culture. And keeping in line with the Vedantic tradition, because see, the Advaita Vedanta follows a different style of teaching. Here we don't believe anything blindly. So we had to spend some time in understanding what is an avatara. So we try to learn that a little bit in detail. So that's where we were. So let's continue that discussion. Okay, so this is the summaries we have seen so far. So the yoga taught in the Bhagavad Gita is not an idea of Krishna, but please underline that bottom statement. The core of the teaching remains the same, but it needs to be interpreted intelligently for the time and place. The examples used 500 years back or 2000 years back may not be applicable now, or the authentic original teaching will be intelligently reinterpreted. That's only Krishna is doing now. This teaching is eternal. The yoga of the Gita is eternal. How Krishna made it clear was, this is taught to Son, God in the form of Son, which means it is part of the universal law. If you remember, we took some time and tried to understand what is the laws of the God and the laws of the nature. The only difference is one is a scientific lens and the other one is a religious lens. So when you look at the same idea through a scientific lens, you can see that there are precise rules or laws in the universal order. Law of gravity is one. On the physical level, there is order. On the psychological level, there are universal order. Physiological level, there are universal order. Like that, this is means part of the universal order. That's all it means. It's not that one day Krishna called Lord Sun and gave this teaching. That's not the idea. When the universe got manifested, these truths were there, and the ancient seers discovered it. And the problem is, when time goes by, these teaching gets corrupted. So that's a universal phenomenon. Shankaracharya clearly tells, when the teachers becomes durbalan ajitendriyan. Two conditions he said. Sometimes the teacher becomes achidendriyaha. Achidendriyaha means they do not have control over their senses and mind. So even though they know that this is the truth, they may dilute it because of some temptations. And sometimes they are weak physically, emotionally, mentally, intellectually, they are weak. When such people becomes the teachers, the teaching declines. And eventually it may just go exactly in the opposite direction. There are several instances in the name of culture and religion. You could see so many superstitions planted into our culture. So time to time, what happens is, when such things happens, some people will come and they fix it. That has been seen in our culture time to time. So this is what Krishna was telling. So Krishna said, this teaching gets corrupted, and I am going to teach you the same teaching which was lost in this flow of time. So Arjuna naturally had a question. How is it possible? Krishna said, you had many births, I had many births, but I know all of them, you don't know anything. And then he said, I am an Avatara. So verse 6 introduced the idea of the Avatara. 5 gave an indication. 6 introduced the idea of the Avatara. So let's understand. So Anu, could you please chant this verse once again?
Sixth verse, right?
Yeah, sixth.
Ajo'pi sannavyayātmā bhūtānāmīśvaro'pi san prakṛtiṃ svāmadhiṣṭhāya sambhavāmyātmamāyayā. Beautiful verse. Please pay attention. We talked about this last week. Here Krishna tells, api san, even though I am ajaha. If Krishna is the Lord of the universe, he is unborn, because the God God doesn't have birth or death. So if he is unknown, avyayātmā, if there is no birth, he do not have any death. Avyaya means more than that. But even though something doesn't have a death, but it can change its characteristics from time to time. To eliminate that doubt, he said, avyaya, there is no decay, or there is absolutely no change. So Krishna tells, in my true nature, I am unborn, I don't have any death, and I'm imperishable, and I do not have any change. But still, it means I'm the Lord of the universe. I'm the governing power of the entire universe. Even though that is the case, he said, prakṛtiṃ svāmadhiṣṭhāya, I control my own nature and sambhavāmyātmamāyayā, using my own creative power. Sambhavāmi means I come into being. Immediate contradiction, correct? Immediate contradiction. The reason is what? First sentence he tells ajaha, I am unborn. And then he tells sambhavāmi. How is it possible? So we said, to understand this, we need to understand the nature of Ishvara, or the God, in two different orders. One is called the immanent aspect of the God, and the other one is called the transcendent aspect of the God. The transcendent aspect of the God, which is the absolute, para prakriti, right? So this transcendent aspect of the God is beyond the universe, beyond our direct experience. It is, means when Krishna talks about that first half, he's talking about as the absolute reality, the Brahman. If you really think about that, the absolute reality do not have any beginning, do not have any end, do not have any decay, do not have any change. But there is another aspect of Ishvara, the immanent aspect of the Ishvara. The immanent aspect of the Ishvara comes to the universe, stays in the universe, disappear in the universe. So this is the idea. So to make this idea clearer, we use the svāmadhiṣṭhāya. Svāmadhiṣṭhāya, the person lying on the bed and the person dreaming. The person in the dream, he is part of the dream. And there's an entire dream world. Who is the Ishvara of that dream world? Who created that dream world? In whom it exists? Unto whom it merges back? It is the person lying in the bed. Isn't it? So that exactly shows the difference between transcendent and immanent. So please don't think that the world is God's dream. This is only an example. So what if you think the dream analogy is so beautiful here, right? The creator of that dream world put himself also as a character of that world. Think through that. The creator of that dream world put himself as a character of the world. But in our dream, we don't know what exactly is the condition of the dream, what I need to do. I'm also helpless in the dream. But in the case of Ishvara, imagine that there is a world that got manifested and Ishvara come into that being, into that world as a character with full control. That is what is Avatara. So ajo'pi sannavyayātmā, even though I am unborn, imperishable, the Lord of the entire universe, because the universe came from me, the universe exists in me, and at the end of the cycle, the universe goes back to me. The whole universe is entirely dependent upon me. Even in that case, I also manifest myself as a character in that universe. That is where this example, the svāmadhiṣṭhāya, is a powerful analogy in this particular case. So now the question is, why God comes as a character into this world? That is what is being explained in the next verses. But at least understand that the relationship, the two aspects of the Ishvara, the two orders of the reality. One is the transcendent nature of the Ishvara, is the ajaha, avyaya, bhūtānāmīśvaro'pi. And then I gain control over my own nature. In this particular case, the world is controlled by Ishvara. The prakriti is controlled by Ishvara. I gain control over it and manifest myself as a being into the universe. This is the idea of the Avatara. Certainly, this is not a proof, but at the very same time, this is not a blind statement also. So that's the idea here. So though I am unborn and imperishable nature, even though I am the Lord of all being, yet I gain control over my own nature and put myself as part of the universe. This is what is Avatara. Let's get a little bit more detail. So what is the nature of the Avatara? We just need to pay a little bit attention here. Every living being, including you and me, why we take birth? According to the karma theory, it is because of our karma. Because of our prarabdha karma, we take birth. So who determines the time and the place and the type of the body and the playground I gain in this world? Any thought?
Karmas.
Exactly. The prarabdha karmas determines that. See, you know, right? The whole thing we discussed multiple times. From the pool of sanchita karma, a subset of the karma is taken as prarabdha. And that prarabdha is going to determine the nature of my body, the place, the time, or everything else. So, means karma
determines my birth. But in the case of Avatara, that's not the case. Because even though the Ishvara is unborn, birthless, changeless, the Lord of all being, he is not bound by karma. That is one major difference. The jivas, the individuals, are born into this world because of karma, but Ishvara comes according to his will. That is why it is called as an incarnation. Or Avatara means coming down. So Vivekananda brilliantly explained the difference between an Avatara and a normal jiva. Let's say that while I walk, I fall into a pond. It's a falling down, means my own actions put me there. But there is a person standing there. Seeing me falling down, if he jumps into that pond, he also falls down to the pond. But there is a difference. He went into the pond with willfully. Whereas I came here forced by my karma. That is the difference. So not bound by karma, he born. And that's why he is not forced through the birth and death cycle. So I show two different pictures here. The first part shows the transcendent nature of the Ishvara. I had nothing to represent it. So I just put infinity. That's why you see an infinity which represents the absolute nature of the Ishvara. That's also only an approximation. It is beyond infinity. So God is both transcendent and immanent. So you need to apply the transcendent aspect of the God on the first two lines of this verse, and the second two lines you need to put the immanent. Otherwise it won't be clear. So the Lord of the universe is not bound by karma. He is not forced, but he comes into being because of his own will. He determines the place and the time. He determines the type of the body. He determines his action. Whereas for me, of course, I have a certain free will, but there are so many factors which I do not have control. So that's a huge difference. So let's deep dive this into a little bit more. So the infinite Atman or the Ishvara in the transcendent form, it manifests into the world in a finite form. That is what is Avatara. So this nature of these Avataras it's beautiful, right? You can look at the history. The history has given us a lot of wonderful examples. They look very ordinary, but out inwardly they possess extraordinary dimensions. How many people Krishna talked to? Can you imagine? One person. What Krishna taught to one person is being studied 5,000 years after, even now, with a lot of enthusiasm and passion. We all are sitting here and studying it. That is something extraordinary. Not a saint or a political leader can assert that much power. Look at Lord Buddha. Around 30 disciples he taught in that deer park. Look at the depth and magnitude of the way that teachings went around the world. Lord Jesus Christ, how many people he taught? 12 people. If you outwardly look, very ordinary teaching in common man's language. But look at the power of that teaching. Even after 2,000 years, it resonates in the entire world. Guru Nanak, very ordinary life, outward looking. But his teaching still continues to look at Japji Sahib, Sukhmanishi Sahib, amazing teaching. This is what an Avatara does compared to an ordinary person. Its extraordinary dimension is there. It may not means too close to an Avatara, you may not recognize it. You may not recognize even while living there. But you will see after
time is going to tell that, yes, this person has created an impact. And these avatars are perfect master of their body and the mind. The idea is they brings a new energy into the world. Vivekananda calls them world-moving personalities. Very nice term he coined. World-moving personalities. How many people born in Jerusalem at that point of time? But one Jesus is a world-moving personality. Lord Buddha is a world-moving personality. Vivekananda goes on and explaining, right? How many petty kings were there in India at that time? How many princes were there? Even great empire like Bimbisara and Ashoka, none of them gained the stature of a Buddha. All of them were great, but a world-moving personality is always different. In the course of time, underline that, in the course of time, the world will realize. Too close to an avatara, may not recognize. Look at the history. Krishna was criticized by a lot of people. Duryodhana called him, means if you read Mahabharata, that he's a Mayavi, like a magician. Lord Buddha was criticized by a lot of people. Jesus Christ, you know, he was crucified by his own people. Guru Nanak, you know, at that time he was criticized. So the whole idea is, over a period of time, the world will recognize them and follow them. Their message definitely will defeat the flow of time. I don't know, like, this is illustrated in a lot of movies also. Movies and actually the original B.R. Chopra's Mahabharata had different instances. But there is a Hollywood movie. I don't know whether you have seen that movie. It's called Ben-Hur. Have you watched it? It's a story of the Ten Commandments and a biblical story. If not, go and watch. Just Google it. Christ appeared in that movie in only one scene. Just one scene. Anybody watch that scene? Anybody watch that movie?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, the famous chariot race.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that movie, there is one scene. Christ comes in. So you won't see the face of the Christ. Never they saw that. It's a brilliance of the director also. You won't see the face of the Christ. Means you see that a lot of people were in the queue. People were falling down. You see somebody is just giving them water. At that time, you know, like a Roman soldier will come and scold this person and just push this poor person. And then suddenly he just look at the other person's face. So you don't see the face of the Christ, but you see the reaction of the soldier. It's not, means Christ didn't say anything, but just looking at the face, this person was completely stunned. I will post that small clip in this group. Please watch it. It is such an amazing depiction. This is the power of Avatara. So, and even after that, this person is, the soldiers goes back and march, but then also the camera focuses on this person's face, and you could see that it's a wonder, splendor, or fear, or all these feelings comes. This is brilliant. I was just thinking like this is the director's brilliance, but you can see. Another beautiful scene, like there is a depiction of Dhruva's story in Mahabharata. So Lord Vishnu comes in front of Dhruva. Oh my God, that scene is so beautiful, how it comes. So you can see that, means of course this is director's brilliances, but art is a form to express the power of that avatara. So these avatars are world-moving personalities. God himself manifests this. Technically speaking, the difference between avatara and jiva. Avatara is not bound or bound by karma. Clear? He is not identified with the body. While he is born, even though he operates in the body, he knows that my existence is outside of this. Again, go back to the example. Example of dream analogy, lucid dream. In the lucid dream, I know that I'm operating in the dream, but I know that my identity is outside of it.
then not forced to take birth. Whereas an ordinary person, he is forced to take to birth, always established in the higher. The other person, not established in the higher at all. Of course, maybe during the lifetime, he may. He is a master of Maya. Maya means all these illusions or all these changing the world. The Lord is the master, whereas I am a victim, other people. Now, one more point. This is important. Before that, the Avatara is ever free, where the Jiva is never free till the body till he gets enlightened. That's the difference. The Avatara is ever free right from the birth. So in order to depict that, if you read Ramayana or Bhagavata Puranas, in Ramayana, you see have you read the birth of Lord Ram? When the Lord Ram comes, he just talks to Kausalya. There's a famous Kausalya Stuti. He tells, I know who I am. I'm here for this particular purpose. So they forget it, but at that time it is depicted that symbolically to prove that he is not bound by the body. That's it. Krishna also does that. Every masters demonstrate such things. Please don't hang upon the stories whether Lord Ram became a Vishnu. No, that's not the idea. Is the Avatara can come. One more important point. What is the difference between an enlightened master, a Jivan Mukta Purusha, and an Avatara? Can you discuss that?
Their birth
Even
was...
Mukta person will still have his prarabdha.
Yep. Gina's point is also correct. The birth is because of karma. When the Jivan Mukta Purusha was born, yeah, he might be very close to enlightenment. He may get a body which is conducive to... The purpose of his birth was not fixing the universe, but his karma. Second thing is that, of course, he may help people, but not like an Avatara. When he was born, he was not free. In fact, his karma gave him that nice birth, which is closer to enlightenment. And at the time of his birth, he was not established in the higher. Maybe he gets closer to that. So when he realizes the truth, then only he became free. At the time of his birth, he was not free. So I put these tables together just to show the technical difference between Avatara and Jiva. And within Jiva, I just highlighted the special case of an enlightened master. So this is the basic idea of the Avatara. Any high-level questions? Other questions we can reserve at 9:30. I know that you may have a lot of questions that we can discuss at 9:30. Anything that is not understanding from what I said? Good. So let us continue. We will continue this topic. So I know you can chant 7 and 8, if you don't mind, together.
Rajesh ji.
Yes, Bhunaji.
Sorry. And that, can you go to the previous slide?
Sure.
Not forced to take birth. That's one thing I'm a little, because they do come as avatars, right? Every now and then. So how does that fit in there?
It's not forced. It is his will. There is a difference. The example I showed, right? Means somebody slipping down the pond. He didn't have a choice. He just fall down. Whereas the person jumping into the pond, it is his will. Not by force or not by any karmic force he is forced. It is his own will. The next verse is going to make it very clear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this Avatara needs to be understood very properly because it's often misinterpreted topic. So these two verses, before we go, you know, right? I sit down in all the chantings and you can see these two verses comes, especially people of our age group, everybody will chant these two verses because everybody knows these two verses. Thanks to the famous TV series Mahabharata in late 80s and early 90s of B.R. Chopra. So for others who do not know that series, in 89 in India, there was a television series called Mahabharata. which was such a big hit. Means as a child, I know, right? We all were waiting for Sunday. During that Sunday morning, nothing will happen. If the whole streets will be completely silent, everybody will be in front of the TV, the old type of picture tube TV. The local newspapers will have the screenplay. Everybody used to read it and anxiously wait for it. The title song of that TV series used to have these two verses in the Gita. So this has almost 98 or 100 episodes. So at least each one of us would have heard at least this 100 times. So these two verses are known to all. It's a nostalgic memory. I'm sure some of you might be recollecting this, right?
Sure. Yeah. Still have those VCR from those days. Yeah.
Yep. Sure. So Anu, please.
Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhūtānāmīśvaro'pi tadatmanam srujamyaham paritrāణāya sadhūnām vināṣāya ca duṣkrūtāṃ dharma samsthāpanārthāya sambhavāmi yuge yuge.
Apologies, the Sanskrit text is not updated in the slide. So I'll update that before I send it out. Sorry about that. That's a cut and paste error. Okay, so let's go to these verses. The purpose of this Avatara, that is what is discussed in these two verses. Very famous verses. So let's understand the literal meaning. Yada, yada. So in Sanskrit, when you use yada means when. That is the literal meaning. So when you combine those two, it means whenever. So whenever, bhavati meaning yada yadahi meaning whenever, O Bharata, O the son means the descendant of Bharata. So Krishna is addressing Arjuna. And the word Bharata is applicable to all of us. So Krishna is addressing us. Whenever the bhavati glani. Bhavati means happens. Glani means decline. When there is a decline in what? Dharma. I see ridiculous translations such as religion. That is not the meaning here. So one sad part is that the word dharma, in people coming from northern part of India, they talk it as a religion. And people coming from southern India, they think this as something to be given, like a charity. Both are not applicable here. So dharma means the universal order. That's all you need to understand. Dharyate iti dharma, that which sustains, that which upholds. What does that mean? Pause for a second. We talked about this in the 3rd chapter. We talked about this in the 2nd chapter about dharma. Please try to understand this dharma in its full depth. So the whole idea of dharma, very well explained by Swami Chinmayananda and Swami Dayananda, very nicely. So we can follow that path. The way they explained, or the way Vedas explains dharma is dharyate iti dharma, that which maintains this universal order, that which is the universal order. So you may wonder, what is universal order? What is universal order? There is a precise law in the entire universe, right from the macrocosmic object to the microscopic world. So last Sunday in our meditation class, we talked about the macro cosmic world. But let's go to the atomic world here. Look at the way the atoms operate. The same example, we take it. If the electron moves fast, if the angular momentum is a little bit faster, what is going to happen? The whole thing will collapse. If it is slightly slow, again everything will collapse. The electron will be pulled into the nucleus. And if you really look at the matter, constantly moving, that constant moving gives a
static form. Isn't it? If I take this pen, every atom in this pen is spinning. But when I look at this pen as a holistic way, what is going to happen? Brilliant. It forms a static order. Look at the origin of the universe. I don't know, anybody read the book Sapiens? The first chapter at least read. You see a brief history of how things evolved. Billions of years, millions of years, how things goes, how the things mutate, how the species comes into being, etc. Amazing. Again, there is a precise order is there. And that order is called dharma. For example, the dharma of the heart is what? Pump the blood. The dharma of the individual cell is what? Absorb the energy, the food, right? The thing. And the function of the pancreas is what? Produce the insulin. Now, when there is a decay or disharmony in that order of the universe, what is going to happen? Immediately you will recognize it. Imagine if the pancreas is not producing insulin. What happens? Order is so important. Dharma, it is at the physical level, social level, psychological level, physical level, it is there. Simple example. Traffic light. When you drive in the Route 1 here, when there is a green signal, you don't even doubt, you just drive. What is the dharma of the person who is on the other side seeing the red light? He has to stop. If he don't follow that harmonious rule or that order, what is the result? Chaos. So physical level, my body needs certain amount of activity. That is the dharma. So if I stay and do not perform that activity, what is going to happen? Chaos. It may not be visible at one day, but eventually that disharmony will happen. So that physical level, psychological level, social level, physical level, there is a harmony. And that harmony is known as dharma. This is the ultimate meaning of that dharma. So Krishna here tells, whenever there is a decline, there is a big decline in that universal order, and there is an out of proportion of this disharmony. Let's say that your heart has a block. What we need to do? An external intervention is required. So like that, the system will adjust itself to a certain degree. But whether it is physical or social or psychological, there is a big disharmony happens in the universe. At that time, Krishna tells, so two conditions he tells. Whenever there is a huge decline in that universal order, dharma, and when there is an increase in the out of proportional order of that disharmony everywhere, then he tells, tada atma aham sojarmi. At that time, I bring forth myself, even though I am outside of the universe, I am the Lord of the universe, to fix that universal order, because the role of dharma, Bhagavan is what? To protect the dharma, that order. I come into being. I come into being. So what is the purpose of the Avatara now? It is not to exhaust any karma he possesses. It is to harmonize that order or bring the system back into order. Sometimes it might be a physical appearance.
Sometimes it might be another appearance, we don't know. But whenever the universal balance goes out of control, mind you, you may ask then, Shankaracharya puts a comment in his commentary here. I can understand a system defined me goes out of control. But if the system is defined by Bhagavan, he is not seeing that use cases. No, absolutely not. He knows this is within, even the Avatara is within the order. This is how it is designed. When the system goes down, he will come into being. Srijami means come into being. Atmana means myself. Aham means I. I bring myself into the universe. Oh Bharata, when there is a decline in that universal order, and then when there is an out of proportional increase in that disharmony, I bring myself. So you may ask me why God is not coming. First of all, you don't know whether he is not coming or not. We don't know. Second is, we don't know what is the level of that disharmony is. You could see this in different form. Don't think that physically God is going to come and do it. No, we don't know, but have that trust. When the system goes out of control, some adjustment will take place. And that adjustment is known as Avatara. So let's continue to discuss this a little bit further. We can go, this is a big topic. We can go on and on. Then he tells what is the purpose of this Avatara? Paritranaya sadhunam, for the protection of who is committed to dharma. See, when the system goes out of control, the people or the objects or the beings that follows dharma, they face a threat or extinction. To protect them. And the destruction, vinashaya cha dushkritam, the adharma, the destruction or conversion or changing those who follows adharma. Don't think that it is coming for killing demons or anything like that. It might be a teacher. Look at Buddha. What did he do? The Vedic teaching were great, but in a period of time, it became very superficial. People started following all these superstitious activities, caste, and all these empty rituals. At that time, a master has to come to revive the teaching. Every century it happens. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. Please don't think that these are demons or anything like that, right? So Hiranyaksha means one who always sees gold. Hiranya means gold. Aksha means I. The one who sees always materialism. That is, when such people dominates the world and there is no way for that harmony, that time Lord come and interfere. And through his teaching, he will rectify that. Symbolically in Purana, you can see that Vishnu annihilates a lot of asuras. How does he annihilates? Using what weapon? Sudarshana. His chakra is known as Sudarshana. Do you think somebody will name a weapon as Sudarshana? It means showing the right path. Darshana means vision. Su means right. So by showing the right vision, this teacher or the person will lead. And it need not be a physical form, because that is why cleverly our Bhagavata shows the 10 different avatara. The Malsya Avatara didn't teach anything. It did some disharmony, right? The universe was in trouble. It came and it fixed it. It went back. Kurma, exactly the same. But when it came to Rama and Krishna, so that's why in the Vaishnava tradition, this is not a Vedantic tradition, but just for the sake of completeness, in the Vaishnava tradition, you celebrate Rama Navami, Krishna Ashtami. Nobody has seen like a Malsya Panchami or a Kurma Saptami. Nothing. Krishna and Rama are worshipped as Avatara a lot in India. The reason is they came and taught us. Rama was an embodiment of dharma. And Krishna was a great teacher. So Rama's life is Ramayanam. Ayanam means journey. Rama's life. You should read Valmiki Ramayana. Every verse is worth contemplating. Amazing. The life of Rama. He was an embodiment of dharma. Ramo vigrahavan dharma. That is how it is. He is an embodiment of dharma. Whereas Krishna, he was a teacher. So that's why there is a joke. They say, follow what Rama did and learn what Krishna taught. Don't follow what Krishna did and don't follow what Rama said. This is a joke, but the whole idea is that they come and silently they work and re-establish that harmony. So, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkridam, dharma samsthapanarthaya, sambhavāmi yuge yuge. So, why I come into being? Dharma samsthapana, to re-establishment of that harmony. That external intervention is needed. So when the harmony goes beyond a threshold, you need an external intervention, and the Avatara comes and does that external intervention, re-establish dharma, and I establish myself again and again. So when you say yuga, yuga, don't think that every yuga there is one Avatara, or every yuga has only one Avatara. That doesn't mean that. The condition is not every yuga, Kali Yuga I will have one, Treta Yuga I will have one. No, not that means. The condition is yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati vibharata abhyuthānam dharmasya. One yuga he may come 10 times, one yuga he may not even come. That is not the case. Sambhavāmi. Sambhavāmi means I manifest as though I am coming. That is how it means. So sometimes means like he comes, he goes back. And even now, the life of these avatars inspires us. I can talk a lot about this, but we can move ahead. But this is a good introduction, but we can understand a couple of more things. See, dharma. Dharma means dharyate iti dharma. That is the glue that holds the whole universe together. And conformance to this dharma, like which is physical, moral, social, it is absolutely must for the harmony of the universe. And the protection of dharma means ensuring the natural order of the universe. So protecting the dharma of the heart means what? It's allowing the heart perform properly. If there is a block, you need to interfere and do the bypass. That is to protect the dharma of the heart. Just understand that way. Then only it makes sense. Otherwise, the traditional interpretation, not traditional, some people interpret that, okay, the whole world was ruled by Rakshasas. So what happens? A delegation will go to Brahma. It's a usual process. And then Brahma said, I cannot do it. So everybody will go to Shiva. Then everybody go to Vishnu. And then Vishnu says, ask, why are you coming? Then they will describe as though Vishnu doesn't know it. And then he will, okay, I'll come. That's how it's all stories. Please understand the in-depth meaning of it. So this work of this re-establishing the dharma in this magnitude can be done only by Avatara, not even by a saint or a political leader. So the purpose of the Avatara is the protection and re-establishment of the universal order or dharma. Coming down, so this is a graph I plotted. So you can see that as time goes, right, the universal order may come down, the dharma. If it is only a certain limit, saints or the leaders can re-establish it. But when it goes beyond that break-even point, beyond that threshold, some big upliftment need to happen. That's the time an Avatara interfere and re-establish the universal order. So if you just learn this diagram, the Avatara's ideas will be clear. So this readjustment of the... Yeah. Yes.
So just one comment I just wanted to ask.
Please.
So, just as per the definition of Avatara, whenever there is a need, like God, it's the reincarnation of it's a reincarnation. So, does
Not
that mean,
reincarnation, it is
for
an
example,
incarnation.
an incarnation. So,
Yeah.
any point of time, we might have enlightened souls, who were multiple people, like a lot of people will be there. But when we talk about Avatara, that means it has to be only unique, right? It has to be one kind of thing. That is the idea, right?
That's the idea. That's the idea. So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa talks about this in a brilliant example. Means the Gospel of Ramakrishna gives, somebody asked the same question. He tells at that time the steamboat was introduced into Calcutta. So in crossing the Ganga River, like a small boat, a rowboat can take some people, but how many can be taken? 1 or 2 people. A small disturbance, if the Ganga goes a little bit wild, that boat will fall down. But if there is a big ship, it can take a massive amount of people together. And even if there is a big turbulence, that will be stable. So that's one example. Avatara is different and the saints are different. So that's a good point. We can continue that. So why the Avatara comes? It's a readjustment of the universal order. So you can see the diagram of that harmony. When that harmony goes away, somebody has to interfere and fix it. So the Avatara, you can see they set in motion a current of love or compassion or values and understanding. You could see massive, huge change. Huge change. Who is an Avatara? You and I may not know, but you could see that a huge change happening. And it's an assurance from Lord. So don't worry, anything happens, he will come and fix it. I really wanted to call out one sentence, how Swami Vivekananda defines these Avatara. So Vivekananda was asked to speak about his teacher, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, I believe that in New York. There is a famous talk called My Master. In that My Master, he introduces this concept of Avatara in a brilliant sentence. I cannot find a better definition of Avatara in the whole literature. He tells, whenever this world of ours, and he tells, maybe on the account of group, or maybe on the account of added circumstances, requires a readjustment. A wave of power comes in the form of an Avatara and readjusts that order. Just listen to this. What a brilliant definition. This is exactly the Avatara is. So whenever the world needs an adjustment, maybe due to the growth, because the human beings grown, the situations has changed. So maybe due to the change in situation, or maybe due to the account of growth, needs a readjustment. A power of wave from the universal intelligence comes forth and fix it. This is what is the Avatara. Allow this. If you want to read that, just go to My Master. You can Google that lecture. Read the first paragraph. This is brilliantly. This is how he introduced the Avatara. Amazing, amazing. You can feel that how much depth is there in that sentence. So this is the idea. So we saw 3 verses. Okay, so one more slide. Okay, so the divine manifest again and again for why? The protection of good, those who conforms to the dharma, destruction of the evil tendencies, and re-establishment or readjustment of the dharma or the universal order. So you can see for the Hindu tradition, you have Malsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha. And if you look at the other Puranas, you have any number of Avataras. There is no rule that the Avataras needs to be 10 or 15, whether the Avatara needs to be in human point. And sometimes the Avatara might be in the mind. Sometimes it happens too, the Puranas tells. So Dhruva's story, first it is said that Vishnu comes to his mind first. That Dhruva story is very inspiring, by the way, because you can read that. A small child brought the Lord down. Usually the Lord comes when the harmony goes, but here he finds a reason. I mean, I don't want to go to that bhakti aspect right now, but it's beautiful. So this is the whole idea of Avatara. So this is a confusing topic in our literature. And by the way, this is a deviation from the traditional Vedantic teaching. From next verse onwards, Krishna comes back to the original teaching, because this he was just answering a query from Arjuna. What is the difference between Jiva and Avatara? So that's the importance of these verses. So we covered two topics. One is the Vamsha Kathanam, which is the teaching lineage, and the second one is this Avatara Vada. So so this we saw already. In fact, this is the whole summary, what we have seen. There are many births and deaths for everybody. The individual may not remember. The Avatara will remember. Krishna reveals his identity of the Avatara, and the Lord is not bound by laws of karma, and he will come to manifest himself to re-establish dharma. So this is the three verses. I know if you don't mind, one more time you could chant these verses, because these three verses